Miawe Nova AM News Aji on Joy News. I'm Sweetie Abochi, and let's get right into the details, starting with armed officials from the National Investigations Bureau stormed the home of Asin South MP, Reverend Ntim Fojo, over his recent allegations of suspected drug trafficking and money laundering in the country. Now, Joy News has learned that the NIB sought after Mr. Fojo to assist with investigations into his allegations that he made regarding those two suspicious flights from Gran Canaria, Spain, which recently landed and remained at Kotoka International Airport. And what followed was a political drama, resistance, and questions about parliamentary immunity. Emmanuel Jivenu gives us a wrap in this report.
We will not be intimidated. We will not be intimidated.
They came in quiet, but their mission was explosive. Operatives of the National Investigations Bureau moved in on the Spinter's residence of Asin South MP and ranking member on Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, Reverend John Ntim Fojo. But before they could execute what was reportedly an arrest warrant, key leaders of the opposition New Patriotic Party, including Minority Leader Alexander Fenyu-Markin and General Secretary Justin Kodua, rushed to the scene in solidarity to prevent a possible arrest.
We will not be intimidated. Reverend is not a loner. He's never. He has not walked alone. Yes. He will never walk alone.
On another security matter related to our airspace, the Minority Caucus calls on national security to, as a matter of urgency, make public the content of cargo suspected to be cocaine and cash.
Today's incident comes days after Reverend Fojo alleged at a press briefing that two aircraft recently landed in Ghana carrying money and illicit drugs. His allegations sent shockwaves across the political divide and drew swift denial from government, describing the claims as false.
Facts as they exist vary completely from the claims that he made. When he made that claim, he was only seeking to peddle falsehood in a bid to undermine the confidence that the people of Ghana have in this government.
For hours, NBI officials and political heavyweights locked horns, one side insisting on due process, the other demanding answers over the MP's claims.
As a party, we fully support the position of the minority group, and as espoused by our minority leader. The chaos this morning was needless, unwarranted. If indeed they were showing good faith, they would have gone through the process, the due process, written to the Speaker that the Member of Parliament is to be invited or wants to be invited to the State Security for interview or for questioning or for discussion.
Nobody will be intimidated, okay? The minority has a right to raise issues and exercise oversight. And if we elect anybody to speak on any matter, that person speaks on behalf of the caucus. Now, even if the person is a whistleblower, and look at the Whistleblowers Act, Act 720, even if the person is a whistleblower, you are barred by law from intimidating that person. What is all of this about?
But Executive Director of the African Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Draman, is calling on government to tread with caution.
I think there has been some kind of agreement over the years that, the leave of the Speaker must be sought. And if you remember, it's not even only in terms of arrest, but even in terms of service of court summons. They have to be served through the legal office. They have to be served on the certain day of the week and so on, in order to, bring some sanity.
Right.
So that these people who represent us and who are the bedrock of our democracy, whenever they are in breach of the law, at least there is a decorous way of handling this.
Eventually, the operatives left without their target. Reverend Fojo was not arrested, but for the political tension, that's only beginning to boil. Reverend Ntim Fojo remains silent except for that cryptic post on X. Truth will stand always. With government and the NBI yet to speak, questions now around parliamentary immunity, political intimidation, and whether this was lawful enforcement or something else entirely. Emmanuel Jivenu, Joy News.
Minister for Education, Haruna Iddrisu, has assured heads of secondary schools of the full support of the government to strengthen inspections at the schools following the shooting incident at the Adventist Senior High School in Kumasi. Speaking at an engagement with CHAS members in Sunyain, the minister said that while the government takes steps to improve education, the weekend inspections would ensure violent tools are not found at the schools for a serene learning environment. Precious Semevo has more.
Education Minister's engagement with a conference of heads of assisted secondary schools CHAS in Sunyain in the Bono region afforded the minister the chance to hear first-hand concerns that, when addressed, will help improve education in Ghana. President of CHAS, Reverend Father Stephen Osusechre, noted the urgent need for an adequate supply of school furniture to end discomfort and enhance the well-being and productivity of students and staff, while urging the ministry to investigate happenings in schools before the interdiction of CHAS members. Father Osusechre appealed to stakeholders to empower heads of schools to do their jobs.
The headmaster is almost rendered helpless and powerless to deal with students in our schools. The parent can come to your school, beat teachers up, insult the headmaster, and threaten you with suits. The only thing you can do for us is to empower the heads, the headmaster, headmistresses, for us to do our job. We also appeal to all stakeholders, especially our MPs, our chiefs, assemblymen, MMDCs, and the rest, to always leave us alone to do our job.
Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu expressed concern with the shooting incident at the Adventist Senior High School in Kumasi and assured head teachers of government support to conduct weekend inspections to end what he described as un-Ghanaian behavior.
In respect of the un-Ghanaian development of shooting in Kumasi, the Director General of the GES has the full support of government for you to strengthen your inspections in order that guns, knives, and other violent tools and equipment are not found in our schools. You have the full support of government to initiate those inspections at the weekend. We have to nip it in the bud as early as possible and as practically as possible, in order that we allow for a serene studying environment. This cannot be part of the training of a Ghanaian child.
He noted the government's commitment to keep the free SHS running with a dedicated 6.5 billion cedis.
As an immediate response for a government that has inherited enormous debt, over 748 billion in debt, in terms of commitment of public investment, over $3 billion, we needed to keep free senior high school running. That's why the President and the Minister of Finance have had to depend on capping and uncapping and making sure that resources are allocated for free senior high school. This year alone, there will be a dedicated 6.5 billion spent to get the free senior high school running. My request to the President and the Minister for Finance will be to continue to make free senior high school a candidate for annual budget funding amount of oil revenue.
Precious Semevo, Joy News, Sunyain.
Now, Spanish Ambassador to Ghana, Angel Losanda, has emphasized the importance of global cooperation in addressing pressing issues like maritime security and climate change. On his visit to the Western region, he highlighted the interconnectedness of the world, stressing that no state can tackle these challenges alone. Our correspondent, Natalia Kwanza, brings us details from Sekondi.
The Sekondi naval base witnessed a significant moment of international cooperation as the Spanish Navy's patrol vessel Relampago docked in Western region under the European Union's coordinated maritime presence in the Gulf of Guinea. With rhythmic precision, and a formal parade by the Spanish Navy, the new Spanish ambassador to Ghana, Angel Lusada Torres Quivado, was received aboard the vessel. His arrival marked the beginning of symbolic yet strategic engagements between Ghana and Spain in maritime security and regional developments.
There is no cooperation without common interest. If there are not two interests that are put together, then there is no cooperation. So, of course, for Spain, there is an interest. As for Ghana, there is an interest of this cooperation. That's why we are together here. In Spain, what's our interest? We are neighbors. We are having the same borders, the same problems. The world today is not a world of isolated states. The world today is a globalized world. And either the countries work together in addressing the big issues, big global issues, from security and safety to climate change. So we have to work together to have a world that is manageable, where people can live, where we can live in peace.
In his address, the ambassador underscored the need for collective action in safeguarding the Gulf of Guinea, where piracy, illegal fishing, drug trafficking, and marine pollution remains pressing challenges.
Offering that security, this opportunity, security cooperation, works in the benefit of our two countries, because it is the security in the seas, and the seas move. There are no lines drawn in the sea. The seas move around, and our security and safety, common security and safety, has to be guaranteed in this very liquid environment, which is the sea. And to do that, the only way to do that is to establish good international cooperation. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to underline today with the presence of the Spanish ship.
The vessel, which had previously stopped in Angola, Cameroon, Gabon, and Benin, is on a mission to strengthen regional naval cooperation.
Western region is also appreciative of the benefit that it has derived from such cooperation that we've had over many years. To be specific, let me mention the scholarship that your country, has offered and continues to do for
illegal mining, popularly known as galamsey, is a major driver of land degradation and water pollution, leading to the destruction of fertile land, reduced agricultural yields, and harm to local communities and ecosystems. Now, to promote sustainable mining and environmental restoration, Agri and Associates Limited has launched its foundation to support this cause. The team is set to kick off its first project in Konogo to restore degraded lands. There's more in this report.
To promote sustainable mining and environmental restoration, Agri and Associates Limited has launched its foundation to support this cause. The team is set to kick off its first project in Konogo to restore degraded lands. Director of the foundation, Kofichum Ampo for Agri, announced that the team will be visiting Konogo for their inaugural project, where they will begin restoring degraded lands by planting mahogany and oil palm seedling.
The first thing is that we are going to Konogo on Saturday for an environmental restoration project where we are going to plant mahogany seedling. We are looking at planting 250. We have also partnered with Grow for Oil, and they will be bringing us castor oil seedlings, and they will be planting it. Not only that, we plan on organizing a social impact assessment. My background is environmental assessment and management. Through this social impact assessment, we are going to carry out baseline studies, stakeholder consultation, and based on that, come up with a report that is going to look at what the needs of the people are, what exactly do they want from mining.
In attendance at the launch of the foundation were stakeholders from the mining sector, environment experts, and some policy makers. Director of PW Mining International, Sam Pridi, acknowledged that while combating illegal mining is challenging, the government has implemented effective policies. However, he emphasized that local communities should also contribute more to support these efforts.
For now, government are putting the right policies in place, But then we, the communities where the illegal mining activities are occurring, should be able to do a bit more to support government efforts. We understand that, yes, it's usually driven by youth unemployment, but then the education of the youth in terms of potential dangers further down the line should be done through the communities, leaderships, and even parents at home.
Furthermore, Deputy CEO of the Minerals Commission, Emmanuel Kwamena Anyima, hinted that on Monday, April 14th, President Mahama will inaugurate the first group of 400 youth as water river gas to protect Ghana's water bodies in collaboration with the Ghana Navy.
If today you see President Mahama coming up with what we call the Blue Water Initiative, it's one of the innovations to help us make sure that we do responsible mining and protecting the environment. Hopefully next week, Monday 14th, the President will commission the first batch of 400 people, youth, of this water river gas to protect our bodies.
In other stories, commuters on the Wa-Saula-Bole-Bamboy Highway are angry and frustrated over the government's failure to fix the Deplorable road. Known as the N12, the 12th most important highway in Ghana, it has been in terrible shape for years, claiming lives and driving up transport costs. The highway, riddled with deep potholes, stretches mostly through the Savannah region, but its main beneficiaries are the residents of the Upper West region and neighboring West African countries. Now, Joy News' Upper West regional correspondent, Rafiq Salam, reports after traveling the route.
It is a highway that is deplorable, bumpy, and have maze of manholes that have far outnumbered residents and animals lumped together, living closer to it. Routine maintenance on the highway over the last 8 years has been wishy-washy. Commuters on the road therefore felt neglected and frustrated, wondering whether the government will have them at heart. Despite promises made by the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP administration to fix the 12th most important road in the country, very little was done in their 8 years' reign, angering commuters.
What holes, what deep ones? You break into a hole, it takes you 10 minutes to remove your car from the hole. Serious, especially from here to Nyole. Brutal.
This is the worst time that this road has ever been. This is the worst stage since everything. I have been planning this road since 1943, and when it was put in good shape, I mean, we were all enjoying it. But for about 3 years now, regrettably, it has worsened.
Very, very terrible. From Tuna to Wa, a journey that is supposed to take 40 minutes. Now we spend about 2 hours before we get to Wa because of the nature of the road.
That's actually a fantastic feature from our Upper West regional correspondent. I'll bring you the full report in our subsequent bulletins. But in sports, Minister Honorable Kofi Adams has called for investment in sports talent as it is crucial in enhancing Ghanaian sports at all levels. Speaking at the third edition of the Ghana Technical University Sports Association Games, held in the Cape Coast Sports Stadium, the minister shared that it is an era of talent and talent hunting and urged that young people should have the opportunity to explore and exploit their talent. Abigail Estel in Nkrumah tells us more.
The third Ghana Technical University Sports Association Games held at the Cape Coast Sports Stadium was marked by the theme Embracing Sports for National Development, the Role of the Technical University. Speaking during the occasion, the Sports Minister, Honorable Kofi Adams, shared that his presence is a reflection of government's appreciation for the talent of young people, commending the association's commitment in nurturing sports talents, and called for sponsorships for the Games.
Indeed, His Excellency understands that we are in the era of talent and talent hunting, and the young must be given the opportunity to explore and exploit their God-given talents. So being invited here today to join you in organizing your third Gatusa Games is for me part and parcel of the government's decision. Let me first commend the Ghana Technical University Sports Association for your sustained commitment and excellence in nurturing sports talent of the ADASS Games. Indeed, with the way you are going, I wouldn't be surprised that the technical universities will become the center of excellence when it comes to sports. I also take this opportunity to call upon our corporate partners, both public and private, to channel sponsorship and support towards events such as the ADASS Games. Your investment at this grassroots and developmental level is crucial to cultivating the talent that will ultimately uplift Ghanaian sports across all levels.
The Executive Secretary of Vice Chancellors of Technical Universities of Ghana, Joseph Mensah Otie-Srufi, highlighted some challenges regarding funding for the Games.
Yes, over the years, we have had a challenge of hosting and funding schools' games. You know, with the collapse of the National Sports Festival, we have had zonal school competitions, which have not been as it used to be those days when some of us were competing. But for the last few years, we've seen Central Region and the Ashanti Region and some other schools also doing it at the secondary schools level. Gatusa and Gusa have also been two platforms that have been consistent. You know, we do it every 2 years, they do it every 1 year. There are suggestions to do it every year. And the challenge is that sports is capital intensive, and you must commit a lot of funds if you want to let it look nice and competitive. So if you don't get funding in terms of sponsorship and government support, you pay the cost to students. So I'm happy that the minister today announced government commitment to infrastructure development, which I think some will also go into developing sports complex across the technical university so that the sports talent will have the opportunity to train.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Lissel-Nkoma reports for Joy News.
Business Update is up next with Benjamin Akakpo.
Well, let's head straight to the central bank as the governor, Dr. Johnson Esiama, is urging commercial banks to tread cautiously over their response to the recent policy rate hike. The governor disclosed this in a post-monetary policy meeting with the various heads of the commercial banks.
Colleagues, we also recognize that the policy rate hike will affect borrowing costs for businesses and households. While the policy tightening will affect funding costs and credit pricing in the near term, the financial system is well positioned to absorb these effects. We therefore want to urge banks to exercise prudence in adjusting lending rates and maintain transparent communication with your clients. Viable businesses should continue to receive support, and tailored solutions should be explored to mitigate the impact on the most vulnerable sectors. On the outlook for the banking sector, let me outline how the banking sector is positioned to support recovery and resilience. Overall, colleagues, we continue to witness broad-based improvement in financial stability, though we remain keenly aware that persistent challenges require our continued and focused efforts. The recent gains in macroeconomic stability following the domestic debt exchange program, the improved profitability of banks, and the structural high liquidity and continuing recapitalization are improving the soundness in the banking sector. Even without recent reliefs, the banking sector soundness indicator showed sustained improvement on the back of improving solvency and asset quality measures amid strong liquidity and profitability. The banking sector continues to experience strong asset growth, expanding by 34.05% year-on-year at end February 2025. And this was funded primarily by deposits, which also grew by 27.9%.
Once more, it's a duku, it's a wrap for business. Let's cap off the AM News.
Akbano, Labananami business updating. And that wraps up. And that wraps up the AM News Bulletin on the show. Stay with us because the conversations begin now. Starting with a news review. Our guests will join us in a bit and we'll be right back. Please stay.